Whenever I'd watch this movie, Parasite, I've always thought of the rich couple, the Parks, as very prideful, inconsiderate, and just plain weird. For obvious reasons, of course. But upon further analysis, I realized that they were in fact prideful, inconsiderate, and weird. But I was wrong in my initial conclusion of them. I shouldn't have even been judging them as a couple in the first place, and these characteristics I just mentioned are prevalent in mostly one part of the couple, Mr. Park. In this video, I will be highlighting the differences between Mr. and Mrs. Park, basically defending Mrs. Park, not because she's fine and I have a crush on her, but because she was in fact different to her husband and we can't be judging her the same way we judge Mr. Park. Let's get into it. The first thing I want to do is just point out the obvious differences between Mr. and Mrs. Park. Number 1. Intelligence. Mrs. Park is described by men as young and simple.
사모님이 뭐랄까? 사모님이 심플해. 영애 심플. 심플?
Young has a fairly obvious definition, but simple has many definitions, but the one that I think fits best in regards to Mrs. Park is having very little intelligence or judgment. I think Min said this for his own personal reasons. He was messing around with Dahai, the madam's teenage daughter, right under her nose, and the madam had never suspected anything, nor has she ever caught them doing anything. But besides that, we see the madam's lack of intelligence and judgment in other things. The fact that the madam let Ki-woo, Kevin, a total stranger, into her home, into her daughter's bedroom, without verifying his identity or the legitimacy of his education and documentation shows how bad her lack of judgment and intelligence as well as laziness was.
서류 이런 건 필요 없고요. 어차피 민혁쌤 소개로 오신 거니까.
Who knows, maybe she did not check the legitimacy of the documents because she just didn't know how to or didn't know what to look for in the documents to confirm if they were legit or not. I don't think Mrs. Park was well educated. I don't even think she went to university, so I don't think she would even know what proper university documentation looks like.
저나 다혜나 만족도가 높았거든. 다혜 성적하고는 별개로. 뭔 얘긴지 아시죠?
Mrs. Park mentioned to Ki-woo that she and her daughter Dahai were happy with men regardless of her daughter's grades. How can you be happy with a tutor who's not helping your daughter pass? Why even keep him around if he's not producing the results you pay him to? What's the use of him? Why not fire him and get someone else to do the job? The madam even fell for Kevin's gimmicks as he tutored Dahai.
이거 봐. 내 박동원처럼 괜찮아. 심정이.
She was very impressed and satisfied by basically a nothing burger. She also didn't notice the small gestures that Dahai did, which clearly showed that Dahai already wanted this Kevin guy for more than just his education. Talk about easy like Sunday morning. The madam could have stopped their puppy love bullshit before it even started, but she didn't because she wasn't looking, I guess. If it was me in her shoes, if I was the madam, I would have been like, wenzani, huh? Usufuna lo mfana manje? Bamba la, ngishaye. Even that mean guy, mina ngangizombamba ngimkhahlele. Incane phela leya ngane. Maybe that's why the highest grades were not improving. Why busy nabafana? If Mrs. Park actually checked and verified the legitimacy of Kevin's qualifications, she would have picked up on the fact that he was a fraud, and that would have been the end of the movie. She would have prevented the rest of the scams that later on found themselves into the Park's home. It wasn't just Kevin who she let into her home without a proper background check. She let in Jessica, Mr. Kim, and Chang-suk. All of them using lies and fake identity. Everyone saw how simple the madam was. They saw that she was the weakest link and she was their entry point into this home. Mrs. Park was the definition of beauty without brains. But on the flip side, we get Mr. Park, the breadwinner, the big boss, the man of the house. Respect! He ran a successful tech company called Another Brick Incorporated. Unlike his wife, he was a hard worker. You don't just accidentally become CEO of a huge company. The accolades on the wall, the house, the cars, the lifestyle all speak for themselves. He was him, a very smart and well-educated individual. I'm assuming he also did very well in school, the complete opposite of his wife. While Mr. Park put in the hours working in his company, Mrs. Park spent her days spending her husband's money, catching up on her beauty sleep, and just being a rich, beautiful housewife, raising the kids and making sure that the workers are well managed and well paid. Number 2, respect. Respect! Mrs. Park was very submissive and feminine towards her husband. She was very respectful to him. The first time I noticed this was when she was crying while having a debrief with Jessica in regards to the song. But as soon as Mr. Park walked through that door, she wiped them tears and rushed to meet and greet him with a beautiful smile and a lot of love and warmth and excitement. She introduced Jessica, but as for Mr. Park, he barely acknowledged his wife. No hugs, no kisses, no greeting. And not one time in this movie did she question her husband. She just went along with everything he said. Like that time Mr. Park found those panties in the car. He made a lot of assumptions and speculation as to the kind of girl that left those panties there. Whether or not Mrs. Park held the same ideas, only she knows. But what we do know is that she never went against her husband or talked back at him. Even that time when they were smashing on the sofa, Mr. Kim was the one who was into that weird fetish of the dirty ass, smelly ass panties.
당신 저번에 그 싸구려 반스 있어?
He was the one who talked about his wife putting on those dirty ass stinky panties, not Mrs. Park. And if you look closely, Mrs. Park was actually taken aback at first by her husband mentioning something like that. But because she was very submissive and knew her place, she went along with it. Just to satisfy her husband. Mrs. Park respected her husband even in his absence. Maybe she was scared of him, but she always made sure not to do anything that would upset him. She kept some things from him, not to lie to him deliberately, because she dealt with a lot of problems herself, not wanting her husband to be stressing about stuff. Like when she had to fire the old housekeeper for having TB.
오늘 이거 애들 아빠한테 꼭 비밀만 주세요. 알죠?
알겠습니다.
제가 그럼 결핵 환자를 집에 데리고 있었다는 게 그 문제에 들어가면 전 교수를 부렸어요.
Something Mrs. Park hated to do, something she cried about. But she did it because she had to do it for the sake of public health and safety, as Mr. Kim put it. Also, like when the song saw that ghost and almost died.
소리에 막 내가 막 뛰어내려와 보니까 그때 남편도 출장 가고 없을 텐데 나 혼자서 그 생난리를 겪고서는
She took care of him, took him to the hospital and got help for him, all without the husband knowing because he was away on business. All of that was done and kept a secret from Mr. Park because it would have stressed him out and made him angry. Mrs. Park didn't want that. And not once did Mrs. Park speak badly of Mr. Park. Which is something I can't say about Mr. Park. Mr. Park was kinda arrogant when it came to talking about his wife. He was very casual, at least in that car scene with Mr. Kim.
내고서 냄새 풀풀 날 거고. 다솜이 엄마가 원래도 집안일에 재능이 없어요. 정서도 못하고 음식 진짜 맛없고.
What was the point of that? What did it even achieve? How did he think the workers were now gonna perceive the madam? This man couldn't even admit to Mr. Kim that he loved his wife.
그래도 사랑하시죠?
아 그럼요. 사랑하죠. 사랑이라고 봐야지.
Number 3. The treatment of the employees. Now let's talk about that line that some people can't cross. Mr. Park was very verbal about the line.
할 거면 제 앞자리에서 그냥 하지 왜 선을 넘어오는 걸까? 어? 아무튼 그냥 봐. 전반적으로 많은 행동이 선을 넘을 때 날 듯하면서도 결국엔 절대 손 안 넘거든. 그건 좋아. 인정. 그래도 여러모로 아쉽죠. 상당히 괜찮은 아줌마였거든 그 양반이. 집안 구석구석 관리도 잘하고 그리고 매사에 손을 딱 잘 지켜. 내가 원래 손을 넘는 사람을 제일 싫어하는데.
He said he hates people who cross the line. This was him indirectly telling Mr. Kim not to cross the line. And this showed that he saw himself as better than his employees. He didn't want them to get close to him because to him they were very inferior and they were just mere peasants, and he was royalty just because he was rich and they were poor. He looked down on them, which is the complete opposite to how the madam treated the workers. One thing you can't deny about Mrs. Park is that she was nice to everyone, not just her family. She was nice to everyone. She was nice to even the workers. And this line that the husband emphasized so much did not exist with her. You remember the time when Jessica was about to discuss the song's first lesson with the madam. The old housekeeper was standing right there next to the madam, and when Jessica asked the housekeeper to excuse them, the madam wanted to stand up for the housekeeper. I think she was about to say something in the lines of, "But she's part of the family," even holding the housekeeper by the waist. But Jessica was having none of it. We also saw Mrs. Park touch and rub Jessica's back when they were discussing the old driver if he had done anything to make Jessica feel uncomfortable. She made sure that Jessica was not taken advantage of in any way by the old driver. Mrs. Park had genuine concern for her employees. She also banned and forbid Peaches from entering her home, not because she didn't like Peaches, but because the old housekeeper was allergic to them. She wanted to accommodate the old housekeeper. You don't make a sacrifice like that if you don't care about your employees. She had real respect for them. I was also impressed by how she did not entertain her husband gossiping about Mr. Kim and the way he smells.
야, 어디서 그 냄새가 나는데?
뭔 냄새?
김 기사님 스멜.
잘 모르겠는데.
은은하게 차원에 퍼지는 냄새인데 그 뭐라 그래야 되나?
뭐의 냄새?
아니야 그런 거. 아, 그 오래된 무말랭 냄새? 아니다. 그 행주 쌀이 있는 냄새 있지? 모르겠어. 근데 냄새가 좀 넘지 냄새가. 차 뒷자리로 정말 나오게 됐어.
뭔 냄새길래?
I'm sure she knew how the Kims smelled, more especially because she had had physical contact with them and was closer to them overall compared to Mr. Park. It's just that Mrs. Park was not judgmental like her husband. I think her head wasn't as far up her ass as Mr. Park's was in his. She knew that people have different smells and how they smell was none of her business. This could be due to the fact that Mrs. Park possibly came from a similar background as the Kims, from poverty. And maybe she was familiar with the smell, and maybe she had lived with it before she married into the Parks. In her defense about this scene, I think this was the first time Mr. Kim actually smelled like shit. The night before, he was navigating in sewer water because his house had flooded. Maybe he hadn't showered that morning before he came to work because he slept in a gym. Maybe that's why the madam acted like that. Yes, I think she could have been more subtle about it, but damn, the smell crossed the line. And just a side note, the teenage daughter was similar to her mother, not because she was also young and simple, which she was, but because she had genuine love for Kevin. She held and kissed him regardless of the way he smelled. But the song was more like his father, not because he was very smart and intelligent, which he was, learning and understanding Morse code and all at such an age, but because he was the one who pointed out that the Kims smelled kinda funny. He connected the dots that only the police connected at the end of the movie. In conclusion, I will share this theory that I have. I think that Mr. Park saw himself and his kids, but mainly himself, as superior to everyone else. Well, that is obvious, of course, but I think he also saw himself as superior to even his wife. I think he just saw her as an object that was there just to serve him, to take care of his home and raise his children for him, and of course, serve him sexually as well, to fulfill his weird fetishes. I think he saw her as a higher version of the workers. Maybe, according to Mr. Park, she also had a line that she couldn't cross. I think Mr. Park is the insecure rich guy who married the beautiful dumb girl and made a luxury jail for her that she wouldn't want to escape from, and made sure that she never stood on her own 2 feet and become independent. And I think Mrs. Park knew this, but she never said anything because it was better than nothing, much better than nothing. But I don't think that these two loved each other. Maybe at first they did, but later on I just think they were together just for the kids. And Mrs. Park saw Mr. Park for the asshole and parasite that he truly was all along, which is why she did not react in sadness or shock when he got stabbed in the chest at the end. That is not the face of someone who's just seen the love of their life get murdered. That's someone who wants to say, thank God, or finally, or good riddance. So yeah. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Yeah.